So welcome everyone to your practice. Take a comfortable seat, whatever that means for you in this moment. The writer Maria Rilke Rayner said, "Let everything happen to you. The beauty, the terror, just keep going. No feeling is final." And so we'll bring our palms together at heart center, opening the 3 middle fingers in lotus, Padme Mudra, just in this gesture, like a flower blossoming open, beginning to receive ourselves right as we are in this moment. We don't need to change anything how we're feeling. There's nothing to do but simply being present and noticing how we're feeling. As we welcome ourselves in this way, we add the element of compassion. In yoga, the Sanskrit word for compassion is called karuna, and it literally comes from the Latin root com, which means with. And then the other root is the French patience, which means to suffer with, to be present with. And so when we add this element of compassion, which truly is one of the cornerstones of so many great spiritual traditions, this practice of compassion, we fully give ourselves this permission to just be with in our full human embodied experience. And that's a way we can work then with realizing that the feelings go. The anxiety, the suffering, the tension, nothing is permanent. That's one thing that we do know that is permanent, that nothing is permanent. And so we'll work with this element of compassion, this practice of compassion today in this way, to move like a boat on the waves of feelings and blossom something beautiful, something of value from the muddiness, like the lotus that roots its little deep, tender roots down into that earth, not afraid of the feelings of the muddiness, to then be giving fragrance even to ourselves and to this world. So turn to your breath with this intention, compassion practice. Meeting yourself where you are, add the powerful element of the breath, the embodiment of compassion itself. For no matter what you are feeling in life, your breath is there for you. Let it be noticed and be with your breath 3 rounds. The most present breaths you've taken all morning, all day. And then we'll sing the sound of Om, another sound of compassion. Om, this universal sound that connects us to one another, to our inherent and complete humanity. When you sing the Om, I invite you today to pour it into the cup of the hands, and maybe you can even feel the vibration or the air itself on the fingertips as you sing. 1 Om, inhale. Seal the palms together and bow in sweetly, softly to yourself. May this practice of compassion heal, soothe, and deepen your connection to your own capacity to be caring, kind, and gentle with you. Inhale, when you're ready, we'll lift the chin and we'll begin. So if the back is vulnerable, definitely sit on a towel or a blanket here, like this, to elevate those hips. Walk your feet forward, lifting your spine. Take your heels as wide as your outer hips, a little wider. giving ourselves more space for compassion. Pull the flesh away from your sitting bones. Take a breath. Opportunity 1 is to have 2 blocks or some pillows propped behind you so the hands are on them, or the fingertips on the floor. Palms face the hips. Squeeze your knees to center so the 4 corners of the kneecaps point directly to the sky. And now pull the heels towards your sit bones. Feel that tone through the upper legs and take the knees to the right. Try not to round the heart, right? We're compassionate. Karuna, that comes from a softening, a welling up. Point the knees straight up. Exhale, the knees to the left. Inhale, keep the rising of the lower back. Exhale to the right. Inhale, knees straight up. Exhale to the left. 2 more. Inhale, smooth, steady breath. Keep the breath flowing with the knees to the right. And inhale, stepping into this idea of compassion, knees to the left. Being with your suffering. Inhale, lift up. Being with any tight, contracted places. And being with, just holding like a big hug, space. Take the knees to the left. And gentle breath. Inhale, lift up. Slowly, you're going to take the right foot off the floor. Bend the elbows back. Keep the spine lifted. And then exhale, heel to sit bone. Place the base of your right ankle at the left quad, above the knee. If the knee is vulnerable, don't push through. Compassionately pull the knee towards your face as you lift the back. Tone the belly. Pull the belly back to the spine. If the knee is not vulnerable, you can start to stretch the right knee away from you, rooting and burrowing down through the lotus hips, hips under. As you feel the descending patterning of the hips, notice proportionally the ascending patterning of your spine. Last breath here, you can start to point the left knee now to the right and to the left, WD-40ing those hips a little if that feels right. If you'd rather keep it steady, flare the toes. And inhale, stretch the right heel into that earth, leg straight, knee pointing directly up, and lift your left foot up. Bend the knee, heel to sit bone. Place the ankle at the base of your right quad, figure fouring it. Knee on the left points to the face more if it's vulnerable. If it's not, open it up. Smooth inhale, gentle, present exhale. Letting the breath be filled with the attitude of compassion. Flare your toes, rooting the hips, those lotus hips, like the Padme, the lotus that lives in the muddiest places in the world and rises up from that nutrients, from its unafraid, unabashed willingness to be with the mud and the muck, blossoms the most exquisite flowers without a trace of mud on them. Inhale, when you're ready, start to take the right knee to the right and left. Last breath, even as you keep that right heel pulling towards your hip and sit bone. And then very slowly, when you're ready, you're going to release the left leg straight. We're going to come into some cat-cows now. Place that towel or blanket underneath the knees if you wish. Wrists directly under your shoulders, hands outer shoulder distance. Knees slightly behind the hips to create length and space. When we have space in the sides of the body and in ourselves, right, then we can welcome all the feelings and be present. Inhale, look forward, stretch your right leg out behind you. Rolling the outer right hip down and in, bend the knee, heel to sit bone, inhale. Exhale, stretch it straight, thigh parallel to floor. Feel the right toes pull to the shin, engaging the leg more. Exhale, bend the knee. Inhale, stretch it straight. 3 more. Inhale, bend. Try to make that right heel touch your outer right sit bone. Inhale, straight. If there's any vulnerability through the knee, we never want to bend the knee so much, and you don't have to go so much. You can go more like this. Inhale, straight. Last one, bend the knee. Inhale, straight. And exhale, bend the knee, open the hip. Phase one, push the palms down and forward. Glide those lotus hips under, stay here. Phase two, lift the left knee up in a three-legged dog position and breathe here. So you might consider, I'm always in down dog, I'm a person who likes to be there, but maybe it's actually more compassionate this morning and an interesting experiment if I'm on my knee. Or it could be the opposite, the converse. Gently glide the shoulders towards your hips so the heart can blossom forward. Last breath. And then inhale. When you're ready, slowly bring the right knee now out to the right. You can again be in down dog to do this if you wish. We're doing clamshells now, so hug the forearms to midline, to center. Lift the arm bones up to feel the shoulder blades really supporting the posture and the back of your heart. Then squeeze the right knee in, tuck your pelvis under. Stretch the right leg out, inhale. Exhale in, tuck your pelvis down. Exhale out. Two more, inhale, squeeze it in, tuck your pelvis under. Open it out to the side. Flare those right toes like a Spanish fan so the hip is engaging. Inhale, squeeze your knees. Exhale out. And then hit a fifth for good luck. Inhale, squeeze the knees, flare those right toes. Inhale, stretch the right knee out. If you're in dog, come onto the back knee. If you're not, everyone stretch your right leg straight. Turn the toes down. Squeeze your thighs to center. Lift the belly away from the floor. Maybe extend the left arm alongside the ear. Each inhale, lengthen your spine. Create space. Reaching through the crown of the head. Lifting the rib cage forward, tuck your pelvis back, reach through the back outer heel. If this feels too much, you can be high on your left fingertips like a little teepee here. Last breath. Exhale, release the knee down. You can take a few rounds of cat-cows here in table or come into down dog. And inhale, look forward. Exhale, stretch the legs back and look towards the belly. Inhale, you can move now at your own pace. As you begin to quicken the movement, make sure you're adding this attitude of compassion with your breath. What does that mean for you to take on an attitude of compassionate breath? Exploring that even. When you're ready, join me on the knees. If you're not, everyone float the left leg out behind you. Turn the toes down so the left hip rolls down. And feeling the hip square, pull the belly away from the floor. Bend the knee. Inhale, stretch it straight. Exhale, bend the knee. Inhale, stretch it straight. And bend the knee, heel to sit bone. So work that left heel towards the outer hip more. Tuck the pelvis under and stretch it straight. Two more. Bend the knee, warming up the hamstring, the back of the leg. You might start to feel a real toning there. And last one, bend the knee. Stretch it straight. Good. Now bend the knee, open the hip, dog fire hydrant. Let the heart blossom forward. Don't crane the shoulders toward the neck and ears. Release them towards your hips so the heart stays open and liberated. Then flaring your left toes, you might stay here, breathing into the front of that left hip, or you might lift the right knee up, more like a three-legged down dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Keep your palms pressing down. Keep your shoulders rising up. Inhale smoothly and exhale gently. Then we'll take clamshells. So it might be that you go onto your right knee at this point or not, but hug the left knee into the right and root your lotus hips down to the floor. Inhale, stretch the left knee out to the left, phase one. Again, you're welcome to be here. Exhale, squeeze the knees. Tuck your pelvis down. Inhale, lift through the inseam of your left thigh. Exhale, squeeze the knees. Inhale, lift the leg. Exhale, two more. Hug the knees in. Make sure the left toes are spreading, flaring. Inhale, lift the inner left thigh up and knee out. Last one, clamshell, squeeze the knees. Exhale, stretch the knee out to the side. If you're in the dog, come onto the right knee. Everyone, let's meet. Left leg straight, reaching through that heel, drawing the toenails to the shin will help float the right arm up. In your table, this is called Vyagrapada is another word, tiger-tigress pose. You can come high on your tiger claws, the right fingertips, if the arm extended feels too much. Lift the belly away from the floor though, feeling the low back getting longer, spacious. All these little refined alignment points are points of compassion. They help us be more aligned and compassionate with our body when we do them. Release the knee and hand down. Walk the knees back. Curl the toes under. Lift the hips high. Downward facing dog. Pedaling through the feet. If you've got your prop there, like a towel or blanket, this is a great time to move it out of the way to the side of the sticky mat or floor where you are. And resume the pedaling through the feet action with your hands rooting and planted. In this pose, the hands are really the foundation. So as you press each finger pad into the floor, feel it like a root sucking nutrients, energy from the earth. Then drawing that energy up into your forearms, squeeze your forearms in, and feel the shoulders root into the base of the heart from the energy pulling in. And then keeping that energy from the base of your heart, steady the legs and push out the palms. Good. Inhale, bend your knees, look forward. With the right foot walk, or you can do a couple hips high bunny hops and eventually make your way forward to the front of the sticky mat. Place your feet, chair pose, outer hip distance. Inhale, stretch up. The next exhalation, sink down through the hips unless the knees are vulnerable. Don't sink way down. If not, go way down. And then inhale, rise up, stretch up. Exhale, palms at heart center. Good. Inhale 3 times, Urdhva Hastasana. Welcome all parts of yourself. And exhale, palms at the heart. Greet them with compassion. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, pull in. Last one. Inhale, full blast of breath, full stretch. Exhale, palms at heart center. We'll take a thigh stretch now. So balancing on your right foot. Bury the heel by lifting it and moving it to the right, rooting through the 4 corners. Take the hands on the hips, pause, squeeze the knees, and gently lift your right foot off the floor. If the knee is tender or vulnerable, we don't want to stress and push that. Stay here, shin parallel. Or you can extend the right arm up, pull the shoulder back, and grab the outside of the foot here. Make the knees flush, pulling the heel towards your outer hip. Take a breath. And then think stretch, think length. And from your pelvis, like a root, stretch that right knee, that right thigh bone in your mind's eye down to the floor more. Push it, push it. Well done. Exhale, release, second side. So balancing on the right foot, lift the right outer heel up and stretch it to the right. Line the navel up more on that hip and take your left foot off the floor. Make the knees flush. And again, if the knee's vulnerable, just keep the shin parallel, reaching through the back heel. Or you can hug the knees to center. Lift up through the left arm, pull the shoulder back and grab the outside of the foot, pulling it towards your outer hip. Knees kiss. Sweetly in. Deep inhale. Lifting the spine as long as you can, feeling the sides of the body growing, feel the sides of the neck growing, and all the verticality and length that the breath, that inhale affords you. Exhale, stretch now that outer left knee down to the floor, the whole left thigh bone, push it down, down, down. Feeling the muscles elongate and lengthen and stretch. Exhale, release, chair pose. Come to the front of the sticky mat. Inhale, when you're ready, stretch the arms up and overhead like chair pose, squeezing the triceps in, rolling the hips under. Exhale, press the thigh bones back, bow forward, and then inhale, look up. 3 times like that. Find props if that feels supportive, pillows or blankets. Exhale and place the hands into them. Inhale, if not, find the floor, bend the knees to do so, and exhale. 2 more. Urdhva Hastasana, strong legs. Squeeze the inner knees up. Pull your heels towards your sit bones. Exhale and feel how that tones the legs. Skin to muscle, muscle to bone, engagement. Inhale, look forward. Last breath, inner knees lift, heels move towards your butt, legs are toning. Exhale, fold. Take your right foot back or then your left foot or hips high, jump back to a plank. Make sure shoulders are over the wrists or slightly behind. Claw the floor and exhale. Slowly let your heart lead the way. Come through the knees or not. Inhale, interlace your fingers behind you, bound locust. If the shoulders or neck feel strained, take a palms face down and a strap in them or a belt. Inhale, everybody, walk your feet back to get length. Lift through the sides of the waist. Lift through the sides of your throat by pushing the crown of the head forward. Length and spaciousness with ourselves, with others, right, is a way to have compassion and express it and embody it. Then inhale, lift your legs up. Exhale, stretch your knuckles back. If the palms touch, great. If not, don't worry about it. Just tone the belly a little away from the floor so the low back stays compassionate and free. Then from your pelvis, the weight-bearing part of this posture, stretch your legs away from your hips. Stretch your heart away from your hips and lift up a little more. And exhale, when you're ready, press back. Downward facing dog. We're going to take a figure 4 in our down dog. If this feels too much, by taking your right foot off the floor, heel to sit bone, you can do it on your hips, like when the first pose we warmed up. Bend your left knee like a shelf and place the right ankle at the base of your left quad. If the knee is vulnerable, spread your right toes extra and point the knee towards your face, towards that earth. If it's not, you can press the right knee and the right outer hip back and down, back and down. Glide your lotus hips under, and the deeper you bend your left knee, the deeper the sensations of stretch will be. So do it compassionately. You're in charge of how far you go. You don't have to bend the left knee too deeply unless you want to. Good, now we'll go to side plank. So balancing on your left palm, slowly you're going to turn onto the blade of your left foot. Keep pressing the right ankle into the quad like this. Phase 1. You can take the arm up. Phase 2 is place the foot on the floor and extend the right arm straight. 2 more breaths. Squeeze the hips in. Lift them high. Exhale when you're ready. Come forward. Back to down dog and then high plank. Elbows are not hyperextending, pushing in towards one another, but there's a slight micro bend from the action of pulling the hands to center and letting your heart lead the way. Come through the knees or not. Grab your strap or interlace the fingers the exotic way. So the opposite pinky than you're used to being below is that exotic way. Then when you're ready, walking your foot back, roll your shoulders up and back. Bound locust once again. Inhale, lift the legs and tone the belly, feeling the length through the low back. If there's any crunching, strain, that's not compassionate, and it becomes something different, this practice. And so harness it back in, come out of the back bend more and tone the belly more and squeeze the legs in more. If there's not, stretch your hips down and into the earth. Burrow them down, and from your pelvis, stretch out your legs away from you. Stretch your heart like an arrow shooting out of it. Forward, reach through the crown of the head, and exhale, hands alongside the chest. Press through the knees or not. Down dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And inhale, lift your left foot off the floor, bend the knee. Make sure those 10-finger pads have their little roots committed to the excavating of the nutrients, even through the mud. Then bend your right knee like a shelf. Place the left ankle at the base of your right quad. Knee towards the earth or your face if the hip or lumbar spine's vulnerable. Or you can gently press the left hip and knee back and down as you lift the shoulders up. 2 more breaths. Your right kneecap should be pointing directly to the floor. And then the arm bones rise, so the posture is still being held by those shoulder blades hugging in at the base of the heart. If you want more sensation of stretch through the left hip, bend the right knee more deeply. Be compassionate though, not pushing yourself too much, but breathing and feeling the nuance of where your body wishes to live. Side plank, grounding through the inner edge of your right hand. Slowly turn to the left edge of the sticky mat and hug your hips in, extending the left arm to the sky. Throat and belly back, gaze can be up or forward. And if that feels too strenuous, place the foot on the floor. And that's such a great, wise usage of the root of the leg, pushing the foot down to lift the hips high, everyone. 1 more breath. Lift hips high, hips high, hips high. And exhale, find your downward facing dog. Inhale, when you're ready, come forward, high plank. Exhale, gently come onto the belly. We'll come into Eka Pada Bakasana now, which is a fabulous rest on the arms and very compassionate as we continue to stretch the front of the hips. Come onto your left forearm so that the elbow is directly under the shoulder. Often we'll take it forward and that isn't as integrated and supported. So give yourself support. Elbow under shoulder, bend your right knee. Then walk your knees in towards one another so they find midline and there's a protection, an insurance policy on the low back. Phase 1, come high on your right fingertips like a teepee here and stay here, twisting the whole torso forward. As you bend the right knee, you can flex your right foot like you're standing on the sky and tone the belly. If the knee isn't vulnerable or the quads aren't so tight, you can stretch the right arm straight out in front of you, parallel to the floor. Spread the fingers, drawing those energy of the roots into the base of the heart as you pull the shoulder back into the socket. Exhale, grab the foot, and like we did in our standing thigh stretch, pull the foot towards the outer hip. Twist the torso to the front of the room. Each inhale from your hips and pelvis, burrowing them down into the floor. Feel your pubic bone get heavy, and then stretch your right knee back. Even as you pull the foot in, stretch the thigh and the right outer knee back. Stretch your heart forward. Exhale, release. Now we'll gently do the other side. So some of you might have even felt a stretch to the shoulder, which is very natural and can happen. Right elbow directly under shoulder, not forward. Find your little claw to have that support and root. Then inhale, high on the left fingertips, bend your left knee, hug the knees in. Once the knees hug in, you might stay here, flex your left foot like you're standing on the sky, and twist forward. If everything's fine in the knee and it doesn't feel too intense, left arm up. Spread the fingers, find those roots, and pull the energy of the arm into the base of the heart. Spreading those fingers will strengthen and tone the whole forearm and grab the outside of the foot. As you pull the foot in towards your outer hip, twist the torso forward. So the left side body to the right. Make sure the breath is present and smooth. And then gently from your pelvis, rooting down, unafraid to find that earth, down, down, down. Push your pubic bone into the floor and stretch your outer left knee back. Stretch your heart forward and up. And exhale, when you're ready, press back into your downward facing dog. Inhale, when you're ready, extend the right leg high to the sky. Exhale, float the right foot forward, Anjaneyasana. Come onto your back knee. Maybe fold the left edge of your sticky mat or whatever you're on in, or place a towel there if you wish, which is so compassionate. Curling the back toes under. Inhale, extend the arms up, up, up. Exhale, root the lotus hips down, down, down. Feel the sit bones narrow and the buttock muscles, those glutes, tone, fire, and create length through that low back spine. Then exhale, you're going to fold half Hanuman. We'll pulse here a few times. So you can grab two props alongside the shin and pull that front outer heel back. Touch the floor if you don't need those props. One breath. Inhale, stretch up, rise up, lift through the sides of the body and root those hips under. Exhale, bow and fold, half Hanuman number 2. Outer heel pulls back, feeling that tone through the upper back of your hamstrings, 3 muscles there. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, bow and fold. Hug those hips in, tuck them under, and softly bow in compassion, like a peace posture to yourself. Inhale, rise up. Good, 2 more. Exhale, fold. Tone the right side of your belly, a little more off the right thigh. Inhale, up. And last one, exhale, fold, flex the foot. We'll bow here. We're going to hold here in half Hanuman for a few breaths. So really dig that front heel into the floor, the outer heel, and pull it back. Then squeeze the inner right knee, that toning, that earth energy. So you feel the quadricep, the front of the quad toning. When the front of the leg tones, the back of the leg, the hamstrings that work in tandem with the quad can release more fully. Hips under, last breath. Good. Inhale, rise up. Now we're going to take a thigh stretch in the back body. So a lot of you will want a towel for this. I'll show you what it means, or a blanket, or again, the left edge of the sticky mat in. Inhale, you're going to flip your right forearm, palm face up to the sky. Twist your hips forward so the hip points directly go forward, heart forward. Then you're going to bend your back knee, hand on hip. Once you get here, if you're flexing this back foot really like we did early on, here, a lot of us will stop at this place because it's so intense on the front of the hip, and we want to add compassion and simply be able to hold space, right, for the feelings, the beauty, the terror, the contraction, the expansion here. If you're pretty flexible and open and you'd like more, then extend your left arm straight. Lift through the sides of the left body. Stretch between the left rib cage by reaching your fingertips forward. Then root the shoulder back, grab the outside of the foot, pull it in towards your outer hip one more time. I like to take above my toes here so I can stretch my toes towards the back of my heel to get a stretch in my foot if there's no vulnerability through your toes. Point the left elbow to the sky if you're doing this form, lift your spine. Then glide your hips down and under and weight the outer back knee so you feel the thigh wrap in, giving a wave water equality through the left side body and lumbar spine. Tuck your hips under if you want more. Stretch your right arm up, shoulder back, last breath. You can even take your index finger and thumb in Jnana Mudra, knowledge mudra. And exhale, press back, downward facing dog, hips high, or child's pose. Knees 2 to 3 outside. The hips in inches, head to the floor, elbows can rest. If you're in dog and you want to take hip circles, you can go one direction, hugging the shins in, hugging the forearms in, and then gently you can go in another direction, hugging the shins in, hugging the forearms in. And compassionate breath honors the inhalation and the exhalation. So wherever you are, explore being in deep relationship with both. Join me in downward facing dog if you're not already. When you're ready, inhale, lift the left leg high to the sky, hug the hips in. Exhale, float the left foot forward in Anjaneyasana. Roll the right edge of your sticky mat in, or you've got the blanket and the towel in this low lunge, back toes or curled under for stability and compassion support. Float the arms up, shoulders back, and then extend. Notice if you can, is it tighter in the front of the right hip compared to the last time, or maybe the same, or maybe different? Part of this technology of compassion is this art of attention, and we notice what's really happening for ourselves in our bodies. Where does it feel great and we can celebrate, and where does it feel terrible? And we can hold it with compassionate and be with it in order to help it, support it, heal it, and transform it. Exhale, half Hanuman posture. Dig your left heel into the floor and pull the outer heel and pinky toe side of the foot back. Find your props or the floor to the center of your shins. 2 breaths here. Toenails towards left shin, strongly pulling the heel towards your left hip. Feel that toning, for we always want to be engaging the muscles that we're actually stretching. If we just stretch, we add that energy of air without engagement, then there's no support. And part of compassion is really, right, being with. Being with someone or something is offering support. Inhale, bend the knee, stretch up. Exhale, bow forward into this flow. Outer heel pulls back. Inhale, rise up. Hips sink down and under. Exhale, outer heel pulls back as you flex the feet. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, bow forward. Outer heel pulls back. Lift the left side of your belly now a little more. Inhale, rise up. And last one, number 5, we're going to bow forward, find the props to the earth. And again, outer left foot pulls back, eversion that's called of the foot. Then find your lotus hips, tuck them down and in. Then as we hold here in a static form, because when we hold postures, right, this strengthens the muscles as much as it stretches them wisely. Squeeze your left inner kneecap up. As you do that, pulling the left heel to the back of your left sit bone, feel the back of the leg tone. Then as you squeeze the left kneecap even a little more, feel the front of your quad tone. And our ability to then bow a little more deeply might increase as we activate the quadricep to stretch the hamstring. Inhale, bend the knee, rise up. Now we'll take our thigh stretch on the right side. So float the left forearm, palm face up at the center of the thigh. Center of thigh is stable. Then with the fingers spread, take a moment and take your right hand on your hip. Pause. Start with the foundation, which is always the breath. So as the poses get harder, try not to forsake the breath and let the breath lengthen the spine. Let the breath inform the action. Lift the sides of the body and infuse your attitude, your intention in this first principle of lifting the spine, creating length through the body and space in your mind to set a clear intention. And then exhale, bend your back knee, heel to sit bone, hug center with the hips, hug midline. Then on an exhale, you might stay here, and from your pelvis rooting down, you lift your spine. This is a lot of work. Or you can extend the right arm straight. Again, reaching the right fingertips way forward, noticing the stretch. In the rib cage, once you feel that stretch, suck the right shoulder back and grab the outside of the foot. Pull the foot into center and nestle it into the outer right hip. Everybody, wherever you are, inhale, lift your spine, and exhale, muddy lotus hips. Not afraid of the earth, not afraid of the nutrients that lives in that earth, but knowing the wisdom that the earth has that nutrients. Twist the torso a little to the left. Tuck the hips under. Push your back knee down and away from you in that elongation sensation of stretch. And as you push the back knee down and away from you, lift up your chest. And then exhale, release, press back, hips nice and high. Down dog. Take any props under you to the side once again. Inhale, when you're ready, come forward, high plank, tone the belly, claw the floor. Exhale, hugging the shins and forearms in. Come onto your belly for a Dhanurasana pose, bow pose. You're going to bend both knees and carefully, if the knees are vulnerable, take the hands alongside the chest, stay here and hug to center. If the knees aren't vulnerable, grab the outsides of the ankles. Make sure the thumb is with the rest of the hands. And everybody walk your knees in a little more closely because they'll tend to sway out once you kick the feet up. So we'll know that, right? It's part of compassion is knowing the tendencies of ourselves so we can predict what might happen and support our self ahead of time. So hug the knees in, stand on the sky with your feet, and then bend the elbows, pointing them back. Now, lift the spine, create space. Tailbone down, crown of head up, and exhale, kick the feet up and back. Keep flexing the feet, pointing the elbows back so the triceps are hugging to midline. And then 2 more breaths, lift the belly away from the floor, and from your pelvis, kick the legs up and back, stretch. From your hips and pelvis, lift that, blossom that lotus heart, and exhale. When you're ready, press back. Downward facing dog. Inhale, float the right leg high to the sky. Exhale, float the right foot forward. Rise up, extended side angle posture. So you can hit a warrior S2, warrior 2 for a breath, and then forearm to thigh or outside of foot on a prop. So that's to the outside of the ankle we're going today if the hand is on the floor. Front knees 90 degrees, back toes point straight to the left edge of the sticky mat. Extend the arm up overhead. Inhale, start from this place of grace, this place of your self-sponsored grace, of the breath and the length that you can create from the breath. Tailbone down, crown of head reaches, sides of the body grow. Then compassionate attitude, pull your feet to center. Feel how that back thigh sweetly wraps in compassion, and glide your front hip under. Pushing your feet down and apart, stretch in all directions. Push your back heel down from your pelvis, push out. The weight-bearing part of this posture is your pelvis, is your hip, so push out from that and stretch up and out of the top arm from that place as well. Then inhale, hand on the hip, look at the floor, half moon pose. You're going to roll onto the blade of the inside of your left foot and pause. Then you can either drag the blade in, one of my favorite ways to get into the pose, or you can gently step a couple steps in. Find a block, pillow, or something to put the right hand on if the floor feels far away. You can bend the right knee also to bring the floor to you. Flex your left foot. Stretch your left leg totally straight. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Reach the crown of the head forward. Squeeze the legs to center and exhale. Root those lotus hips down. Make your right leg like a root, rooting down, down, down. And feel how that actually lifts the spine more forward and creates a longer sense through the sides of the body. Then keeping your hand on the hip, pause, bend the knee. Stay here, flexing your left foot like you're standing on something behind you, or point the knee down on the left, grab the foot, find the ankle if you can, which is really a little harder. If you can't, just take the front of the foot, flex the foot and open it up. Root the hips and standing legs straight, stand on them. And then you might start to twist the right side of the belly and throw it to the sky. Or not, you can look down at the floor or to the side. Last breath, tuck the lotus hips under and kick that left foot away from you, whether you've got it with your hand or not. Last breath. Good. Release the left foot down. Find the earth with your left hand and square the hips. Come back to Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Reach for the floor behind you. Gently bring the left knee down. We'll only be here for one breath to stretch. And exhale, press the hips nice and high, rejoining you in down dog. Inhale, high plank. Exhale, hug the forearms in, hug the shins in, and lift the belly. Come through the knees or not. Inhale when you're ready. Dhanurasana number 2. Bend the knees. We always tend to grab one ankle first if you're grabbing, so do it the different way. And when we can make new synapses in our bodies and brains, then real healing and shift can happen. So grab opposite ankle, or if you choose and you don't want to do that, hands can be alongside the chest, index fingers out. Everybody hug your knees in again, walk them in a little more. Knowing they're probably going to splay out, keep that action in your mind's eye, knees to center. And then before you lift up into the pose, wherever you are, tone the belly a little bit more and go push your pubic bone into that earth. And now before you kick up, even still, stretch your outer knees back. Then kick the feet up and back. You might start to point the feet and flex the toes a little. Just point the elbows to the sky. Then one more time, from your lotus pelvis hips, hug your hips in, and then from your hips, stretch the outer knees back to take the legs higher. Stretch your outer knees back to take the heart higher. 2 more breaths, reach the back of the head back. All directions, stretch and shine. And exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg high to the sky. Exhale, Parsvakonasana. Take the left foot forward. Angle your back toes on the right, pointing straight to the right edge of your sticky mat. Left knee 90 degrees here. Take a prop, pillow, or block to the outside of the ankle. Or gently find the floor. Extend your right arm up and overhead. And then pause. Pausing is one of the simplest, most radical acts of compassion we can do. Because when we pause, we step into this field of really seeing what is. Reality and the truth more fully can blossom when we can actually take a pause and assess it, feel it, sense it, and be present with it before acting and reacting. As you lengthen your spine in this pause, reaching through the crown of the head and lengthening through your tailbone. Feel the ribcage stretch and the sides of your body grow, and claim an attitude of compassion. Then pull your feet together. Feel your back thigh wrap in. Tuck your left hip under and push out your back foot from your pelvis. Push out, feeling that stretch, that element of air, lengthening, stretching you, making you more spacious. Twist the left side of the belly to the sky. Half moon, take your right hand on your hip, pause. Look down at the floor and come onto the blade of your right foot. Drag the blade forward. That implores the inner thigh muscles, or take several steps in. Find a prop, a pillow to the side and forward of your left foot, or find that earth. You can bend the left knee to do so. Everybody do keep your right leg totally straight, whether or not the left knee is bent. Reaching through that right foot, flex the right toes towards the shin. That action we did several times. And then squeeze the thighs to center. Start to take the gaze to the right if you can. If balance gets tricky, then compassionately look at the floor. Bend your right knee, heel to sit bone. Stay here and stand on that standing leg. Make a root through that left leg. Tuck your pelvis under. Feel how the right knee opens more and stay here. Or maybe point the right knee down. Grab the outer ankle if that's too hard. When the shoulder's tight, you can top a foot will do. And inhale, re-extend the right knee to the right. Feel your left sit bone and left hip heavy though. Stand on your root as you kick the right foot up and back. Gaze can start to twist to the right again, or maybe to the sky, or you can simply look down, which helps balance. Kicking the right foot up and back, tone your belly, tuck your hips under, and squeeze the top knee down. Last breath as you shine, stretching in all directions. Exhale, standing splits. Point the right toes down, take a breath, and re-square the hips. Then bend your left knee, find that earth, and inhale, rise up. Anjaneyasana. One breath here. Feel how good that earth, that dense, muddy, solid earth feels right about now, yeah? And then exhale carefully. We're going to come into our tabletop position here. So in your table position, compassionately take a towel or blanket if you have one. And then we're going to bring our knees outer hip distance to get some width and spaciousness. Then this is the time where I'd love to invite you to grab a strap or belt if you have it. You've got it, and if you do, great. If not, I'll cue you through some other things you can do. But if you have it, you fold it in half, and you've got a little loop here, right? With the tails pointing down. You're going to take the strap carefully into your left hand, palm face up. So I've got the loop, because my foot's going to go on this loop soon, okay? So you want the loop facing down, left palm up. Then slowly, you're going to place your right palm down into the floor. Make sure the index finger points straight ahead, for that'll keep the opening of the inner shoulder, which we'll need a lot for this pose. That's called, I call it Kickstand Chapasana. It's a form like we did in Ardha Chapasana, half wheel. Claw the floor and have your right knee not lined up with the right wrist, but actually to the inside of the mat, to midline. So the right hand is to the side and the right knee is to midline, to the center. Then curl your right toes under, and if you don't have a strap or belt, simply take your left hand on your hip, lift the left leg, bend the knee, and kick the foot up and back like we did in the last posture. If you do have a strap, mindfully take the strap, find your breath, and point your left toes and knee down, and then place them through like a little thread in a needle eye, and then slowly bend the left elbow and squeeze the left elbow towards your rib cage. Pause. We don't rush with compassion. Pause and feel. Lift your spine more for this deep back bend. Tone your belly more. And make sure you're not letting that top left knee lift up, but point it down. As you pull the belly back, root your hips into the floor and start to point your left elbow forward towards your right fingertips. Kick, everybody, that left leg back and away from you, from your pelvis. Push down into the knee that's on the floor. From your pelvis, stretch out in all directions. Last breath, tone your belly. Push that top elbow down and stretch the outer left elbow forward, outer left knee back. Release the strap, just let it go. And now we'll do the second side. So you come off very slowly to the other side, or simply twist on your mat and go the other way. Left hand down into the earth, index finger points forward. Left knee, really mindfully. So when we practice with heightened intelligence, this will make all the difference in our ability to do the pose with the most compassion and in the most skillful way to support our bodies. So with the left knee down, it's to the midline, to the belly, and the left hand is totally out to the left, and that'll help you balance. Left toes curled under, that's really important as well, so there's stability and total support. With the right palm holding the strap, point that little loop down if you have it, and if you don't, just simply take the right hand on the hip, bend the right knee, point the right knee down, and kick the foot up and back. If you've got the strap, point the right toes in that little loop, and with the knee, again, hugging down and in, hugging midline, that'll keep the back safe. Then here, pull the belly back. Then, keeping the abs engaged, start to point the top Right elbow down, 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 and forward to the front edge of your sticky mat, to the right fingertips. Pull the belly back, pull the throat back, and wherever you are, breathe. Compassionate attitude of breath. Soften and stretch from your hips in all directions. Lotus hips root down and under, always to the mud. Push into your right outer knee, down, push into your right palm. Left outer knee, left palm. And stretch your back knee back and hug it in. Hug that right knee down to the floor. Stretch your right elbow forward, last breath. And then simply release it and exhale. Come into child's pose or downward facing dog, whichever feels right and compassionate for you in this moment. The child's pose form, I recommend knees 2 to 3 inches outside the hips so that lower back can release. In your down dog, it might feel really good to bend your knees right now in service of releasing the low back as well. Inhale when you're ready. Take the prop that's on the earth to the side. If it is, you're going to bend your knees, look forward. Join me in down dog if you're in child. If you're in down dog, knees bent a lot. Inhale, let your left leg lead the way and walk forward to Uttanasana, or like we did before, you can take a few bunny hops. If you want to take an inversion here, you can do that. And eventually jump, hips high, forward. Bend your knees, chair pose, Utkatasana. Sink down through the hips, rise up through the chest. Hugging the hips under, get as much length through the spine as you can. And then inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands on the hips for Cosmic Dancer's pose. In Cosmic Dancer's pose, if you'd like to work with your strap or belt, you're welcome to, and you don't have to. When you're ready, if you've got a belt, fold it in half and find the loop facing down or not. Inhale, we're going to stand on our right foot. Walk the right foot to the center of your navel so that there's full support here where the weight-bearing aspect of our pelvis is pushing into and directly over that right foot. When you're ready, inhale, bend your left knee. Lift your spine and feel the knees touch, hugging midline. Notice how the thighs wrap in, and there's a rising up from the activation of the legs in the upper venue, hugging in. Then phase 1, left palm out to the side, point the toes, and take the thread into the needle hole here, and slowly hug the left elbow in towards your rib cage. Or you can simply have the outside of the foot and hug the knees in. Either form, everyone, twist the left side of the face and belly forward. Pull the right side of the belly back so you get really square and present. And then when you're ready, tuck your lotus heavy hips into the earth. Descend to stretch and ascend. Feel the spine lift, and maybe your left elbow lifts if you've got the strap. Slowly, whether you've got the foot or the strap, kick the left foot up and back from your pelvis. Push down and into your standing leg. Really stand on it. And lift up through the chest, lift up through your spine. Shine and stretch in all directions. If you're here and want to take the right arm up, shoulder back, and grab the strap, you can do that. Just stand on that standing leg and keep your hips rooted, heavy, stretching in all directions. Good. You can just release the strap if you've got it or not. And now we'll do the other side. So, well done. If you're working with a strap or belt, then it goes in the right hand, palm up, and the loop down. Or your right hand will be ready to grab the right foot. How we do what we do matters, and setting up the foundation is the most compassionate way to stack the deck in your favor. So walk the left foot underneath your navel, right here, and feel how the weight goes directly over it. And that creates a lot of stability and that good earth fecund energy. Then when you're ready, slowly, you're going to bend your right knee. Hug the knees into center. Feel the thighs hug in and wrap back. So you squeeze the knees so much so the low back gets liberated and that lumbar spine feels that curve shape right here that we want. Then left hand is on the hip, pause. With your right hand, grab the outside, the pinky toe side of your right foot, or point those right toes and place that foot like a thread in a needle eye. Re-squeeze the knees if they've come apart and gently twist the whole right side of the belly and face forward. Taking that moment to twist and center ourselves is like that sacred moment and pause, filled with compassion. Then the whole posture set up more optimally. Pull the left side of your belly back and start to lean the heart forward. Squeeze the right elbow towards your rib cage. And if you've got the outer edge of the foot, keep kicking that right foot up and back. If you've got the strap, keep hugging the right elbow in until it points to the sky. Then harness the power of your lotus hips. Hug the hips in, tuck them under and down, and lean your heart forward. From hugging the hips in and down, expand the standing leg straighter. Push into the floor. Use your root, your power to root, to rise, descend, to ascend, and maybe the left arm extends, you bend the elbow, you walk it down the strap, or maybe you simply keep extending and kicking the right foot up and back, up and back, up and back. 2 more breaths. Just let go of the strap when you're ready. Release and take a moment. We'll now come onto the hands and the knees. And we'll do a camel pose. So you can place a blanket or fold the front of the sticky mat in for Ustrasana. With the knees outer hip width distance, curl the toes under wide. We did a lot of back bending, so it might be that you always take the ankles, but really wisely, you might take your hands on your low back and work a little more length and less flexion. It's really extension of the spine here. So middle fingers right above the hips, squeezing the elbows back. If you feel like really raring to go and you want a deeper stretch in the front of the body, then do take your ankles, but lift up first and meet me with a long spine, whichever form you're doing. Feel the sides of the body grow. Your rib cage is lifting, the armpits hollow. The throat lifts, the back of your head lifts, and the hips stretch and the knees stretch down. So I'm finding all this verticality, and then I even find width, like expansion through my elbows. I'm just opening up to compassion in this attitude of a big hug energetically in all directions. Then squeeze your shoulder blades on the back, hug your knees to midline. Feel the thighs wrap in, tone the belly and tuck your pelvis down, and maybe grab the ankles or again, press the palms into the low back. Then root your lotus hips and the roots of the legs down, and from your pelvis, root up and out of the hips. Lean back more. Good, tone the belly to come out of the posture. And then when you're ready, exhale. We're gonna play with a posture called Kapinjalasana. And what that pose looks like, and it's you're in a side plank position, Vashisthasana, and you do the form that we've been doing all of the class, which is a one-legged back bend. So I'm just gonna show it for a moment and show some options. So when I come into side plank here, if my wrist and foot are lined up, it's less of a foundation. So you can do it that way, but that may I've position and support. You're gonna bend your top knee, point the knee, I'll show this way, this forward, in towards the belly to catch the outside of the foot. Now I could use a strap and point the toes to do that, of course, here, but knee doesn't go up, it hugs in to find my roots. Then, once I have the foot, I take the foot and kick it behind me. Back, 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 hips high like we did in our side plank, but the knee's not out, knee is in, and I find my roots. My roots are what's touching the earth, the palm and the blade of this foot, push down to lift up. So that's what it looks like. Let's see where we can get with that. If none of this feels compassionate, lovely opportunity to come onto your hip and do the same form. Forearm parallel, I bend my knee, and with the strap, belt, or hand, I can grab the outside of this foot and root whatever's touching the floor down to open and blossom my heart. So do the form that you wish. You're going to be balancing on your right hand or right forearm. If you're on the floor, your right hip is on the floor, left hand is on the hip. Pause. Bend your top knee if you're on the floor, or if you're on your right hand. Really protect the wrists by rooting through the inner edge. Then everybody, squeeze your knees in, hug your hips in, and like I said, if you're in Vashisthasana, make sure, side plank people, that the foot is not lined up with the wrist. If this is harder for you or you've never done this pose, walk the right foot to the center of the sticky mat more. Have the right hand to the outer edge. Squeeze your knees, firm your hips, bend your top left knee. Lift your hips high, point the knee down to catch the outside of the foot, or take a strap, point the toes, and place them in the little loop. And then slowly, carefully, take the foot behind you by hugging the top knee down. Then what's meeting the earth? Root it. Push the palm down and forward. If your hip's on the floor, root the hip. The blade of that right foot's totally on the floor. If you're up, hips high, left knee down. Last breath, root to rise, descend to ascend, and exhale, release. Take a moment in child's pose. Bend your elbows and touch the back of the heart to release the triceps. Smooth inhale, soft exhale. And now we'll go the other direction. So mindfully, if you're using strap, it'll go to the right edge of the sticky mat. We'll all have our left palm, really protecting it by grounding down, or if you're on your forearm, left forearm parallel to the front edge of the sticky mat, but you can still do that rooting through the inner edge. If your left hip is down, root it into the floor and flex your feet. Finding the blade of this left foot is really important. That means the pinky toe side. Squeeze the knees and bend your right knee, hand on the hip. You can take your strap, point the right toes, and squeeze the elbow in and kick the foot back. Or if you're in Vashisthasana, find, again, the blade of that left foot more to the center midline of the sticky mat, your left hand way more to the left for that bigger base. And then when you're ready, bend the right knee. Everybody keep pointing the right knee down to take the loop around the right ankle or your hand. And inhale, push and root the hips, the blade of the left foot and left palm into the floor. Squeeze your top knee down and kick the foot up and back. Not letting the right knee ascend, but keep descending it, rooting it down, rooting and tucking your hips under. Last breath. Good. Exhale, release. Come back to child's pose for one breath. Inhale. When you're ready, we're going to slowly come into Agni Stambhasana, fire to log pose now. And sit on something so your hips can be elevated for this pose. Inhale. I'm going to show it this way. Stack your right ankle on top of the left, like this. If any of this feels too much and the knees are kind of craning up and the low back feels tired and tight, then you'll come to this form like we did earlier, but instead of on your fingertips, you'll come onto your forearms. Bend the right knee, heel to sit bone, and lift the back and open it up. If you're here, do make sure the toes are spread like those Spanish fans, If you're very flexible, you can take the ankle, on top of the knee, even past the knee, but you are trying to line the shins up. Roll your thighs in. If you're on your forearms, gently press the inner thighs towards the earth to find that lumbar curve. Phase one is take your two props, pillows, anything, stuffed animals behind you, and rise up here. Tone the belly and find your lotus hips and root them down, particularly that right hip, that right outer hip. Track it down, 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 and feel the knee open. If you feel like you can keep the elevation of the low back and it's easeful in the rooting down of the hips, come forward, interlace your fingers like a tripod and fold. Compassion, to be with it all. To be present with it all. Notice where it feels tighter in the body, stuck. And just stay with that sensation a few breaths. And you can say to yourself, I've got you. I'm holding you. It's okay. Inhale, when you're ready, rise up from inside. And exhale, gently, we'll reach the arms up and now we'll twist to the right. So press your palms gently down and forward. As you activate the feet, roll your left inner thigh a little more towards the floor. And pull your outer right hip crease back and under. Feel from the rooting of that right hip how you can stretch your knees a little bit wide apart. Push them wide apart energetically. Inhale, when you're ready, rise up. Second side, exhale. So this time the left ankle will go on top of the right. If you're on your forearms here, you'll bend your left knee, heel to sit bone, lift the back and pull the belly in. Or if you're here in Agni, it might be that your shins can be parallel. If you're a little more flexible, wherever you are, roll your thighs in and find your position. Inhale, lift up through the low back and take this wise pausing. A lot of us could even just go here. But if we practice this art of consciousness, consciousness leads to more compassion for ourselves and for others. Feel how your spine can swell up. Feel the sides of the body through the armpits growing and hollowing. Sides of the throat, back of your kidneys even can expand. Just opening up in all directions. Up and down, side to side, and even circumferentially. You can stay here, or if you wish, you're welcome to bow and fold. Interlace the fingers the exotic way, opposite pinky below. Deep inhale, smooth exhale. Flaring your toes. Making your right inner thigh a little heavier. And pulling your left hip back and down. Finding the root of the left hip. And you can stretch and lengthen the muscles in all directions by reaching both hips back and pushing through your finger pads behind you or your forearms down and forward in front of you, wherever you are. Inhale, rise up, long spine. Exhale, twist now to the left, palms down and forward. Rooting your hips continually, that right hip now into the earth. Breathing with compassion to the stretch you feel perhaps in your right low back or mid back. Inhale, gently rise up And exhale, we're going to take a moment to sit now in our 1 minute mindfulness meditation. So you can sit in any way that feels right for you. Feel your inner thighs heavy. Breathe. As you bring your palms to heart center in Lotus Padma Mudra, you can open the middle 3 fingers and root the hips down even more. And for 1 minute, you can open the mouth if you prefer, relaxing the jaw like you're about to sip a straw. And breathe a cooling breath into the flower you've made with your hands. And the goal is to fill up this flower with compassionate breath of yours. Then if you'd like to lie flat, you're welcome to, or you can simply release the hands, or you can keep them here at the heart for a final Shavasana, a final resting space. Each breath, the intention of filling yourself up like your flower with this attitude of compassion, breath by breath. Feel yourself being held by yourself. Compassion. Slowly, wherever you are, very sweetly, just wiggle the fingertips and toe tips ever so slightly. And then if you're on your back, you can gently stretch in any direction and in your own time, roll to one side and make your way up to a seat. If you're seated, you can switch the cross of the shins and gently stretch in any way that feels right for you. Taking the palms to the heart, opening the 3 middle fingers in Padma Mudra. As you resume your seat and feel your seat, we'll sing the sound of Om, filling your flower with the sound of Om, the symbol of knowing that the flowers have the roots. The lotus uses the roots, the mud, the tension, the tightness, the places that are stuck and seem unmovable to learn lessons, grab nutrients, refine, and then offer out something of value to itself and a fragrance to the world. Let your Om reflect this desire to do just this. Inhale. Om. Namaste. Thank you for sharing your practice with me.